So after many reviews of no Once Upon a Time, you guys are probably wondering, where are my Once Upon a Time reviews? Well, finally guys, now that the first half of the season is over, let's talk about the first half of Once Upon a Time. Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for the first half of the season of Once Upon a Time, Season 4A, and I was planning on doing individual reviews eventually, but I didn't end up doing that because I got so into other shows. I wanted to watch them live. I wanted to watch I wanted to watch Walking Dead live. I wanted to watch Homeland live, and I really just didn't get a chance to review it weekly. Plus, there were too many shows on at the time. I mean, when it was Walking Dead, Homeland, and The Affair, I really did not want to watch all three. I couldn't review that and Once Upon a Time. Especially when Boardwalk Empire was on. I definitely couldn't do it that. But now that this season is over, I mean the first half of the season at least, we can finally talk about this season. Now, first of all, this is not just going to be for the finale. This is going to be me talking about the season overall. Major spoilers if you guys have not seen the entire season. If you guys are in the beginning of the season, then major spoilers. If you guys are in the middle of the season, you haven't seen the last episode, major spoilers. I'm going to be talking about the entire first half of the season. So, let's just get to it. So, overall, what have I thought of this season of Once Upon a Time? This season has been probably the strongest season of Once Upon a Time yet. It, in my opinion, is the best one. I really have loved every single plot that's gone on. I've loved everything that's been happening. And really, everything that was going on was fantastic, starting off with the season premiere, which, in my opinion, was Once's strongest premiere yet. I really thought it was a perfect season premiere. And the main plot of the season, of course, was Frozen, because, of course, at the end of Season 3, we saw Elsa on her way to, Storybrooke. She was very confused. We didn't know why she was there. And I love that we got so much backstory about Frozen. They really did what they could to get the story of Frozen in there, make it so it makes sense and everything. They really did the backstories very well. And of course, we find out that Elsa has no idea why she was there. Somehow she just randomly got there. We don't know how she ended up in, Storybrooke and everything. And, of course, those flashbacks, were very well done as well. And then, of course, Anna and Elsa ended up getting separated because Anna went to the Enchanted Forest and Elsa was searching for her, and somehow in her search, she ended up in Storybrooke because of that. So I thought that was very well done. And the casting of the people who played Anna, Elsa, Kristoff were actually really good, especially Georgina Haig as Elsa. She was absolutely fantastic, in my opinion. I think she really represented Elsa very well. She kind of brought a new sort of Elsa to the table. This Elsa, while she is very powerful, it still has that message of misunderstood, which I like. I like that they did not turn Elsa into a villain. It looked like from the end of the last episode of last season, it looked like they were going to turn her into a villain, but they didn't. What they did was they made her just a very confused person in Storybrooke, and I really love that. And I also love the bonding between her and Emma. I really like that a lot, especially when she, her and Emma meet. It's very well done, the way that was, done and everything. And, of course, she ended up trapping Emma inside and everything. And all that Frozen stuff was very cool to see. I definitely really enjoyed that. Of course, we also find out some flashbacks about Anna. The whole season, pretty much, is Elsa trying to find Anna. That's what the whole thing is about. She has no idea where Anna is. Somehow, she ended up in Storybrooke, and Anna didn't, and she doesn't know why she's there and everything. So, she is desperately searching for Anna and everything. So, of course, her and Emma end up teaming up to find Anna. Which, the Anna flashbacks were definitely very well done. We find out that, Anna's basically met the entire cast of this show. And, some of them were cool to see. Some of them didn't exactly work. Like, the one with Belle, I didn't really like. I didn't think it worked as well. The one with her and David was very strong. But the strongest was when she met up with Gold, which is very important, and we'll definitely talk about it, when she met up with Gold. Because, basically, Gold is the other central thing of the season. But let's talk about the central villain of this season. The main villain of this season is the Snow Queen. The Snow Queen is the main villain of the season, pretty much. She's a very mysterious character. We don't know who she is. We don't know why she's there. But when we find out what actually happened to her, it was very well done, in my opinion. Of course, one of the things I loved about the Snow Queen, and in my opinion, I think that the Snow Queen is the strongest villain on the show so far. She's, first of all, Elizabeth Mitchell did a fantastic job as the Snow Queen. I thought she was amazing in this role. She really knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. She really brought everything of that role. You know, she really did it perfectly and flawlessly. She was fantastic in that role, definitely. But the thing I love about the Snow Queen is how powerful she really is. I mean, she is a very, very powerful presence. When I say she's a powerful presence, she is a powerful, powerful presence. Extremely powerful. Because the thing I like about her character is, of course, all she wants to do, we find out, is reunite with Emma and Elsa. When we find out the twist that she was Emma's foster mother, I thought that was a fantastic twist when we found it out, because you could tell there was something going on between her and Emma. You could just tell that somehow she knew Emma, and, of course, that twist that she was Emma's foster mother was fantastic, and because of this, we see a lot more flashbacks of Emma, which is probably my favorite part of the season, actually, is the arc we get with Emma, because Emma, we've known a lot about her, but we haven't really seen a lot of her in her childhood before she came to Storybrooke and before she, you know, became rebellious and everything, and before she had Henry. We haven't seen a lot of that, and we got to see that this season, which was very well done. There's a great episode, of course, also where we find out that, you know, her name when she was with Emma is Sarah, but when she was with Elsa, that was when she was Ingrid, when she had these three sisters who were very, very, you know, these three sisters, and one of them, I believe her name was Gerda, she was supposed to be, queen and everything, and, you know, she was queen and everything in Arendelle, and, basically what ended up happening was that, you know, Ingrid became extremely jealous and ended up freezing her sister, and because of that, you know, she became known as a monster and everything. And it really goes with the message of Frozen is that she wasn't necessarily, one of the things I love about her character is that she's not necessarily a very bad person. She's more jealous of people, and I like seeing that definitely, and especially how calm she was. And the whole season, she just wants to reunite with, Elsa and Emma. And she was jealous of Elsa because of how powerful she was, and when she came to Storybrooke, of course, she tried to become as powerful as Elsa was, but she really wasn't as powerful. And, you know, they weren't really scared of her. They were just like, you know, what's really your angle here? They didn't want anything to do with her. And I thought that was very well done, that they really didn't want much to do with her at all. And, you know, that she tried to do whatever she could to get rid of Anna and Elsa. She did whatever she could. She even tried to pit them against each other, but it didn't work. It worked for like a second, but it really did not work at all. And I thought that was a very interesting arc, definitely. And the way they closed out her storyline. Now, this was interesting. I was surprised they closed out her storyline episode 10 and not the finale. I thought she was going to be our central villain here. She's actually not our central villain. I'll talk about why, but she actually ended up getting her arc closed at the end of episode 10 when she basically realized that she wasn't a bad person. She was just jealous of her sisters and really just wanted to be loved, and in the end, love conquered all, and she realized the only way to undo the spell was basically to kill herself and destroy herself, basically, because by destroying herself, she would be happily reunited in heaven with her sisters. And when we saw that last week, I cried. I did. I almost cried. I was like this close to crying. It was probably one of the best things they have handled this season, and just the way we closed out that arc was perfect. And also that we found out that Emma and Sarah were actually very close and were sisters and everything. And then, of course, you know, Sarah told Emma that she has these powers, and Emma thought she was crazy and everything. Then she went to Storybrooke, and Sarah was in the ice cream shop. And I thought that was very interesting when we found this out, that Sarah was in the ice cream shop, and Emma was there with her. And basically, Emma went crazy. You know, she's saying, how can you tell me all this? You're crazy and everything. But Sarah ended up wiping her memory, and that's why Emma was never, you know, aware of her powers. And I love that twist. I love that twist. I love that we found that out. And it was very, very well done the way they did that. By far, the strongest arc of the season was definitely the Snow Queen. I loved her character, thought she was great, and I loved everything about her. She was great as well. Let's talk about the other big thing this season. Now, we did get a lot of flashbacks as well, but really the season, I think, really picked up after the 2-hour episode. The 2-hour episode really picked things up. It really got things going. And one of the big questions of the season, actually the question of the season, is can villains get happy endings? Because as we know, at the end of season 3, we're going to talk about Regina briefly. I mean, not briefly, but we're going to go into her plot. Regina, of course, thought that she was a villain. She thought that she couldn't get a happy ending. She thought that, all her chances were gone. And she pretty much, in the first episode, is a straight-on villain. She really thinks that she's going back to being a villain, and she almost kills the mirror. I really, really seems like she was going to do it, but she realized, you know what, I don't want to be a bad person. What she is upset about is that in the book, in her book, she doesn't get a happy ending. So her whole arc of the season is trying to find the author of that book and seeing if he can possibly rewrite it. And the other thing I loved is that Henry is not annoying this season. Thank you for doing that. Henry is actually paired up with Regina and wants to help her find this author of the book, because she's also going through that whole thing with Robin, because of course Emma brought back Marion, and she's pretty pissed with them about that. I mean, they are not in a very good place when the season starts, definitely. Regina's like, I want nothing to do with you and everything. So a lot of the season is Regina, kind of wondering if Robin's gonna pick her or Marion. Sorry guys, I'm getting a Skype call. I'm just gonna ignore that. I'm just gonna ignore that right now. But basically, that whole arc I thought was very, very well done. I definitely really enjoyed that part of it. I thought that was, very, very well done in my opinion. And I really like that storyline of her trying to find the author of the book. I thought that was very well done in my opinion. Now, the other arc we have to talk about, of course, is basically... Sorry, that's interfering with this. Sorry, my phone was calling me on Skype. Ignore that. But I thought that was a very well done arc because, of course, Robin told her that you can have this happy ending. And there's so many people who can tell her that she can be a good person. But Regina doesn't really want to be a good person. She wants to be somewhere in the middle. And I like that we saw that with Regina. I mean, Regina's changed a lot. And when this season started, I was like, okay, is Regina going to go back to being a villain? Is she going to be how she was in season 1? And I was like, if they do that to Regina, I'm not going to be very happy because I like seeing this lighter side of Regina. And Regina basically realizes that she can get that happy ending and everything. She can do what she can to get that happy ending. And I really like the way her storyline ended as well. Her storyline basically ended with, Henry telling her that they're going to find the author of the book. And of course, Emma was completely unaware of this. But basically with Emma, what ended up happening was that, and this is, by the way, the finale that just happened. Basically, they ended up teaming up with Emma, and Emma decided that she wants to team up with them and possibly find the author of the book, and we see, Henry led her to all these blank books and everything, and I like what that was trying to show. That was kind of trying to show all about, the blank books and everything, all about what ended up happening there. I'm all about that you can have your own ending and that, she can change her ending, and I think that's really cool, and it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening with that in 4B. That's going to be cool to see, definitely. So, I really like that plot, thought that was very well done, and of course, in the end, it got really sad for Regina because Robin did end up choosing Marion. He ended up marrying, getting with Marion because of, Roland. He was going to choose Regina, but Regina was almost going to leave town because, of course, there was that spell where if you cross that line, you can never come back, and basically, Robin was the one to leave, and so was Marion, and Regina got pretty upset, but eventually, now she's realizing that she can change things, she can make it better for herself, and I like that the show showed that, because I would have been happy if Regina just randomly went back into a villain. I would not have been happy with that at all. Now, briefly, we're also going to talk about the Frozen characters. The Frozen characters, of course, do end up going back to Arendelle at the end of this, and I really like the way they ended it with them. Of course, there was that, in the beginning, of course, Anna and Kristoff were supposed to get married, but they didn't end up getting married, because Anna was afraid, Elsa was afraid that she caused their parents' death and got into that whole fight and everything. But I really like the way it ended with Anna revealing her wedding dress to Elsa after they've, kicked out Hans. Also, all the stuff with Hans this season was hilarious. It was great. Anytime Hans was just on screen, they always made the worst stuff happen to him. He got frozen, things like that. He got hurt by the Snow Queen so many times. It was so funny to watch, and I thought that was great what they did with Hans. It really shows he's one of the biggest dicks in Disney history, but they really used him very, very well. They didn't just have Hans to have Hans, which I really liked. And of course, I like that it ended with Anna's wedding and Elsa walking her to the ceremony. And I will definitely miss the Frozen arc. I really like the Frozen characters. I thought they all did a very good job. Some people complain about Anna, saying that she was kind of annoying. But if you think about it, Anna is Disney. This is Disney that we're talking about. And Anna really is supposed to be this happy, perky person, and that's exactly how she was in Once Upon a Time. They did kind of play with her a little bit, make her a little bit more dumber, make her a little bit ditzier than she was in Frozen. But I thought it worked. I thought it worked for the most part. She had some really good comedic moments, and I definitely really enjoyed that. Especially when she was trying to hide, and she called herself Joan. I thought that was really funny, definitely. And when they ended up all meeting up in Storybrooke, I thought that was very well done as well. I really enjoyed that. But of course, we have to talk about the biggest arc of this season, the thing that's going to change this season the most, and that is what ends up happening to Gold, aka Rumple, whatever you want to call him. I'm going to call him Gold. But of course, Gold and Belle got married. We all thought everything was good there. We thought that we were going to have a nice, happy wedding with them. But of course, Gold decides at the last minute, I don't want to be a good guy. He literally says, I'm tired of being a good guy. I'm bored. He goes to Neil's grave, and I mean, at this point, you feel so bad for Gold, and the thing is, the show have been portraying him as a very nice character. They haven't been portraying him as a bad guy at all. I mean, his son risked his life for him. He risked his life for his son, of course, and he goes to, basically, he goes to Neil's grave, and he says to him that, I'm gonna be a bad guy. I'm gonna avenge your death, and I'm not gonna let, it's basically killed him now that Neil is dead and everything. So, he goes full-on villain this season, which I really like seeing. Especially the team-up of him and the Snow Queen. I never really bought Gold as this good person. I never really bought him as, a full-on good person. I mean, I understand why they did that, because he works so much better as a villain. He's so creepy as a villain. And it works so much better than he does when he's a good guy. And, basically, of course, he portrays, the actor that portrays him, what's his name? Robert Carlyle portrays him very, very well that way, and I thought he did a very good job as well. Oh, also, one other thing I forgot to quickly talk about. We got introduced to Will Scarlet this season. My only complaint is that he had nothing to do. All we knew is that him and Robin Hood knew each other. There wasn't really a lot for him to do. He doesn't really, I don't feel he really fits on this show. And he didn't really have a ton of stuff to do, in my opinion. He did have stuff to do here and there, but I just felt like he kind of wasn't that important, and wasn't, his presence, while it was good, and he was the best character Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, the only reason he was there was because everybody really liked his character. I just feel he doesn't really belong on this show. They might give him some more to do in 4B, but nothing that he did on this show changed anything. Really, nothing he did. He had a lot of the more comedic moments. He's more of a comedic character. Fine, but that's what Mary Margaret and David were for this season. Mary Margaret and David, everything they had to do this season was hilarious. Mary Margaret, of course, is going through being a mother. She has a lot of things like that going on. Of course, she is now the mayor of the town. So there's actually a very funny episode where the power goes out, and she has to somehow fix it. It was very funny to watch. I thought that Jennifer Goodwin handled all that very well. I like that she was more of a comedic character this season, because it worked. I was fine that she didn't have much of an arc this season. Her arc really was just being a mother and going through motherhood, and just, basically that. I thought that was cool. Of course, she did that whole thing when Ingrid put that whole spell on the town. I mean, there is that, but with her basically being, as this mother, I thought it worked, in my opinion. It doesn't really make sense, but it did work. And of course, now let's get to Gold. Of course, Gold becomes a full-on villain, but he kind of hides it from Belle. He doesn't show her the kind of evil person he's becoming. And he becomes so powerful that, of course, we found that story about the apprentice and everything, and how the apprentice was killed by Gold. Gold ended up killing the apprentice, and then, of course, the Sorcerer's Hat. Now, a lot of people have hinted at the Sorcerer's Hat, that Mickey is going to come to Storybrooke. Now, do I think that's a possibility? Yes. And would I like to see Mickey in Storybrooke? Yes. But I think it'd be a little out there if they did that. He's not a fairy tale character. It could work, but I don't really know. I mean, they got Fantasia in there, so it might work, but I really don't know if the Sorcerer Apprentice arc is, really going to lead to Mickey. But Gold ends up recruiting Henry to work there, and, Hook, of course, realizes how powerful Gold really is and everything. And also, the other thing I love about the season is Emma and Hook together. I love them together. I think they are fantastic together. I think they really showed the chemistry perfectly between them. They were fantastic, and just, they really had a great arc. But basically, with Gold, what ended up happening was that Hook finds out how powerful he is. He tries to stop him, but Gold ends up taking out his heart, and basically for the rest of the season, he is controlling Hook and everything. And I was surprised by how far this really went. And of course, he just wants to be the Dark One and get the dagger. And of course, at the end of this first half of the season, I was surprised that most of the episode revolved around Hook. I didn't realize that Hook was basically one of the big villains of the season. I was really going to change as much as he did. Talk about a major character change. We went from this, guy who really went through a lot last season, risked a lot for people, to a guy who is a full-on villain. But still, it's all about, can villains get happy endings? Because he wants a happy ending as well, and he really is not happy with Belle. We see in flashbacks that he really doesn't love Belle, and I thought it was interesting that we saw that. It really portrays him in a more mean-spirited way, and I like the way they portray him that way, because he really works better for me as a villain. He does. If you want to make him the, official, main villain of the show, go ahead, because he's really, really good at it. So, of course, we get probably the most heartbreaking scene in this show, I think. I think it's one of the most heartbreaking scenes in the history of the show. One of them, definitely, is, of course, when Belle finds out what he was doing. And that all led to Anna saying that she knew Gold, when Gold had said, oh, I know nothing about Anna. I have no idea who you're talking about. And, of course, that made everyone realize that that Gold was playing every single one of them. And they realized that Hook had... that he had Hook's heart the entire time, which Emma hinted at because she could tell that there was something not right about Hook. He was speaking very robotically, very sadistically. He just didn't feel like Hook anymore. And when Emma realized that Gold had the heart, everything changed, because then Belle realized what kind of person she married, and it was so sad to watch because all this show, we have been wanting Gold and Belle together, and this episode basically confirmed that that cannot happen because Gold does not love Belle, and when Belle made Gold leave the town, it was very, very sad to watch. Of course, he ended up crossing that line. She said, I want you to leave Storybrooke. It's heartbreaking to watch because he really did love Belle, but he got so powerful and everything that he convinced himself that he didn't really care about her at all, and I really felt bad for Hook because of that. So, then what he decides to do is recruit 3 new villains, Ursula, Cruella, Deville, and Maleficent. They are going to do some damage on the town. They're going to work for him, and we're going to have to see what happens with them when the show returns. So, that's basically everything that happened this season, and I gotta say, it really has been a fantastic season. They've had a few hit or misses here and there. There were a few episodes that I wasn't as into, but overall, I thought this season was a very, very good season, especially after the 2-hour episode. That's when I really, really started to get into the show. I'd say, episodes 3 through 6 were just okay, but after episode 7, the show got really, really good. It got amazing again, and I can't wait to see what they are going to do with Ursula, Cruella, and Maleficent. Well, now we did see that Gold. It was cool to see Gold not in Storybrooke. It was cool to see him, on a bus and no longer in Storybrooke and everything. And it was cool that he's going to recruit them, see what kind of damage they do. And what do you guys think of the season overall? Have you liked where the season is going? Some people are thinking we're going to see Mickey. Do you think that? And also, there's a line here that I think kind of confirms that next season is going to be the last because Gold says we have 2 more missions to do. So I'm wondering if that's going to confirm what's going to happen here. Also, who's going to be the writer of the book? Who are they going to find? Who's Emma, Regina, and Henry going to find? That's going to be cool to watch. Did you like the Frozen arc? Did you like the Snow Queen arc? I pretty much liked every single arc this season. I had no problems with the plots. My only issue, of course, was with the Knave. I really didn't know why he needed to be on this show. I didn't think he really belonged on it. But overall, I thought this was a very good season. And I'm happy that I didn't, if you guys are upset I didn't review it individually, at least I reviewed the entire season to you guys. That's basically my review of the entire first half of the season, Once Upon a Time. Let me know what you guys saw the first half of the season already. Looking forward to the second half of the season. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think this has been the strongest season so far. Did you like what they did with the backstories? Honestly, guys, this season really has been more of a backstory season. We found a lot more about the backstory of Emma, which I really love. The backstory of, Gold, a lot more with Gold, definitely. But I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for tonight's episode of Homeland, which is very, very important because it is the penultimate episode, and shit's gonna go down. So I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.